All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, host of South Chalk Talk, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, and athletic director. The Shot Clock Pod was born out of contents of Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts as the NBA offseason continues. And there were some bombs dropped, at least in terms of trades. We're going to talk about them. Now, if you're listening to this, we're grateful. Thank you. You are listening to one of many independent fan driven shows on the Peach Basket Podcast Network. We're not owned by a big media company, which means what you hear comes straight from real fans who live the game every day, just like Steve and I. If you believe voices like this should be heard, we appreciate your support. The best way to do that is to keep listening, tell a friend, comment, subscribe. All that stuff matters, and we're grateful for all of it. As soon as this episode ends, head down to the peachbasketpodcastnetwork.com, head over to the peachbasket.net, check out more podcasts, more articles, and help this independent network grow the way it started, organically, one hoops fan at a time. Thanks again for being here. Steve, are you ready?
Ready.
Let's go. I'm going to start the timer. There we go. Boom. And we're off. All right. NBA offseason is off and running, and invariably this time of year, you get trade rumors. Some of them happen, some of them don't. Some of them are silly, some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. But some actually, again, do happen. And probably the biggest shoe to drop in terms of trade, of course, is Giannis to the Heat. Pat Riley and the Heat got their star, but are they better? You wrote about that a little bit. Now tell us about the Heat getting Giannis.
For the Heat, Riley's always been a star coach.
Yeah.
They have little money to do anything. Mitchell Wiggins has got a $30 million option. The best thing that can happen there is if they can re-sign him at less money for a couple of years. If he doesn't take his option, which would be crazy to not take it, he becomes a free agent and they could lose him. That's big. So they also have Norman Powell, who can shoot and play. He's a free agent. They don't
Yeah.
have the money to go out and get him. Now, if you take away those two guys from Miami, they're in trouble financially, and that means they're going to be getting a lot of minimum contracts. Now, when you think about that, okay, it's going to take a year or two or three to find some players. Giannis is getting older, and he's going to walk away probably with an extension for a lot of money. After he said he would sign with Miami, re-sign, and they're going to give him max money. So what they don't have a lot to work with. Giannis is getting older. Giannis, you have to guess, looking at past history, he's going to miss 15, 20 games next year. So where does that put the Heat without Giannis in a game? I look at that, they could be just a play-in team or a lower seed, like a 6 or 5. And that's not good. Now, naturally in the playoffs, a healthy Giannis, they can upset or bother anybody, but you don't have a lot around them. Him and Bam are it. What do they have? Davion Mitchell, Simone Fontecchio. They're not loaded here. So, Pelly Larson, I'm just thinking, so that's going to be interesting to see how they can round it out. And I'm just going to throw something crazy out there. Wouldn't it be ironic if LeBron came home? Think about that for a
Yeah.
while. But, and then suddenly they get a little better. But the point being, they don't have a lot, and there's a problem. That's the
Yeah.
point.
So two things. I took a little bit of heat because when this trade happened, I didn't like it. I didn't like it for the Heat. I didn't quite understand it. They gave up so much, and understanding that they got the better player. Giannis is the better player. There's no argument there. But they gave up. They did exactly what you don't want to do when you trade for somebody: is get a really good player, but then don't give them a whole lot of supporting cast. They traded the really good supporting cast, and they needed to. I get it, but the trade didn't make sense to me, and I didn't see the Heat being better. I didn't see them being better. They were a play-in team this year, and they might be a little better. But I took a little bit of heat for that, so I appreciate you kind of backing me up. That helps. But the second thing, there is some rumors about LeBron going to Miami. Right now, what they're missing is a distributor. And at this stage in his career, and we've been saying this about LeBron forever, but he's always been really good. I was going to say at this stage in his career, he's a distributor. He's always been a distributor, but he would fit that model for them. Maybe give him 20, 15 minutes, 15, 20, 25 minutes most, and be a distributor. But you and I've talked about it before. Does LeBron have the ego? And it's ego to take that kind of back seat to not one guy like Luca, but two guys in Miami. Less money.
He has 5 years ago, LeBron would be somebody that can change the direction of the league. Right
Yeah.
now, he's become more of a player that can put you over the top. He's not the guy that you would bring in that will all of a sudden make us real good. He's still a player and he's still a good player, but he needs help now.
Yeah.
And he could help Miami in a lot of ways. But again, you're looking at he's 41 or 42, and Giannis is the natural thing.
Right.
And I think I pointed out in the thing, there's some different statisticians working, and they said an NBA player's best years are from 24 to 26, meaning points and all the other analytical issues, which is showing the change in the league. But you're dealing with now. Giannis doesn't play back to back. Didn't play back to backs. So teams play between generally 12 to 15 back to backs a year. So now you're without him. Now Bam's a good player, and I know he scored 83 points, but I don't think he's going to be the one man offense that you need without
Yeah.
Giannis. So you're in trouble for 12 to 15 games right off the bat. And then you go from there. So it's not good. It's not a great situation for the Heat.
Yep. Agreed. And if you're a Heat fan, I think you're waiting for the next shoe to drop, right? Because this can't be it. The team is constructed right now. Can't be it. So Pat Riley's got to have something else working out. Let's see what happens when the ball tips in summer league. Not probably summer league, but certainly in preseason. But all right, let's talk about the Giannis trade, but from another perspective, and that is the trade that didn't happen. We know now that the Bucks had a choice, right? They could take the haul from Miami, or they could get Jaylen Brown. They passed on Jaylen Brown. It's kind of shocking to me. Now, two things about that. Number one, why do you think they picked what they picked when they could have had a star who's younger than the star they're trading away? And more importantly, I think, does this potentially become Jaylen Brown's Lamar Odom moment? What I mean by that is Lamar got traded, Chris Paul to the Lakers. It was rescinded, and it kind of messed with Lamar's head a little bit. Fortunately, is there any danger of that with Jaylen Brown?
Put that aside for a second. Let's start with the first thing for the Bucks.
Yep.
The Bucks had a choice: quality or quantity. Jaylen Brown's quality, the Miami package is quantity. Now, when you look at it, generally you take quality if you have draft picks and a future. Bucks don't have
Mm-hmm.
much in draft picks. So they took a team that 30 wins and won't embarrass themselves. But the smartest thing they can now do is maybe Tyler Hero and get a number one pick, or start dealing a few of those people. But then you're going back to the 20. You still don't have enough. But if you think about it, if you have draft picks and you have some money, you're going to take a Jaylen Brown because he's a great player. So the Bucks did the right thing for the situation, and they took the right package. And that's not to say a guy like Khalil Ware doesn't become a star. He's a good player, and beware,
Mm-hmm.
he can play. So you don't know if one of those young guys in the Jackionis or whatever his name is, he could score. So there's a little bit of hope there that one of those guys might develop. So I understand totally what the Bucks did. Totally, it makes the most sense. But it's still the Bucks. Their future, unless there's major change, 40 wins is going to be a good season in any year in the next couple of years. Now, you asked about Jaylen Brown. It's a very interesting situation. It's fluid. It's fluid as we're watching
Yeah.
it. I don't know what Jaylen Brown's value is. I don't know. I know Boston's asking for a lot. I have to believe Brad Stevens. does a lot of he's more of a player's coach or player's general manager. He does a lot of talking and working with the people. And they like with Drew Holiday when they traded him, Drew knew he was going to go because Stevens made it clear. So I have to think him and Jaylen Brown had a lot of conversations. They did. Supposedly, Stevens said that in his press conference last week. So if they did, I have to wonder, did Jaylen Brown say something along the line, okay, try to trade me, I'd like to go, but if not, I can handle this. Because I don't think that Jaylen Brown, first of all, Jaylen Brown's very much vocal in the media and everywhere else. He hasn't really made any comments about that. So you have to wonder what went on inside. And my sense would be Brown knows the situation and probably doesn't mind going somewhere and being the number one player. Probably would like it. But he also knows if he stays, that's fine for a year and just keep working to get me out of here. And that's fine. But also, we're going to learn a lot. I think I said this last week. January 6th, Boston can offer to up him for another couple of years. He's still got 3 years on his contract. They can offer two more at ridiculous money. If Boston offers that money, maybe he's going to be there. And by the way, Jaylen Brown might be upset, but suddenly if you're getting 5 years and you're averaging about 70, 75 million a year, that would calm me down a lot. So that would be the way I would think it.
Yeah, money has a way of helping things out a little bit, especially when things don't
Yeah,
work out your way. But it's tough. Again, I don't mean to kind of link Brown to Odom, but to me, it's
there's no
similar.
comparison.
But
There's no comparison.
that's
Jaylen
what you
Brown's a
called
good player.
out. I think, he's obviously a different person, but I think you called out probably the most important thing. Brad Stevens is a different person, right? This is a guy who talks to his players, lets them know. So there's no shock, there's no surprise. You're not hearing about it from your on your phone when you're working out that you got traded, and that's the part that I think might have been difficult, made it difficult for Lamar Odom. All right, let's talk about, and we're going to kind of pivot now a little bit because this is an interesting
Isn't
conversation.
it?
You kind of
I
hinted to
just
it a
want
little
to
bit.
comment though. Isn't it funny
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you take an obscure Laker and compare him with the MVP in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and pretty good player. And you take
yeah.
some obscure Laker that was
Obscure.
around with a bunch of other guys. He was a good player. He wasn't great. He was a good player.
Yeah.
Now,
When
you're
we flip,
talking about one of the top 10 or 15 players in the NBA. You're comparing him? Come on. It's like
just the
comparing,
situation, not the player, just the
but it's
situation.
always a Laker, by the way. But you're comparing, it would be like comparing LeBron to Deuce McBride. Come on, let's be serious now. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now you're comparing Lamar Odom to Deuce McBride.
No, but what I'm saying is something ridiculous. Something that's pretty obvious. Okay, how about LeBron in his prime and Bridges? Mikhail Bridges. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no
Okay.
comparison.
That's fair. That's fair.
But,
Again, no disrespect.
oh,
It was just
it
the
was.
It was just the situation. But let's pivot a little before this
I
spirals out of
often wonder
control.
when we talk, I often wonder, like when we evaluate players, there's the Lakers and then the rest of the league we evaluate. But the Lakers are above them. The first 15 are Lakers, and then we go to the other teams. And that includes Bronny James. But go ahead with your evaluation tool. Go ahead.
Guilty as charged. I don't
I
even know what
know,
else to
I know.
say. You brought up a very interesting, I don't know how to pivot cleanly from this. You brought up a very interesting conversation. You hinted about this before too today, that NBA contracts skew older, right? In terms of the more money goes to the older players. And that's always been the case, right? In the NBA, you're rewarded for what you did. You're not getting paid for what you're expected to do, right? That's generally what it is. The people that get the big contracts are not the ones with the highest ceiling. They're the ones who had a really great offseason or last season. You're suggesting it's time for a change, and the collective bargaining agreement, which I think you wrote, doesn't isn't you can't opt out of that until 28, 29. So it's a long way out if it happens. But what do you envision? What would you change to kind of fix that salary
There,
contract issue?
if you're a fan, let's use the Lakers. If you're a Laker fan,
Thank you.
Austin Reeves started out with the Lakers. You want him to be there for the rest of his career if you're a Laker fan. what happens is Jaylen Brown's a good example. Jaylen Brown will be 30 this year. He will make a lot of money. And if they re up him, it's 5 years. That goes up to 35. Obviously, it's diminishing returns you're getting back and the money you're paying him. So, the NBA, this system does is makes teams, when they get to 30, 31, get rid of the guy. He's got value. And what the problem with that is, and let's go back to Austin Reeves. The Laker fan wants to see the guy play with them for his whole career, not trade him. Many years ago, Danny Ainge, when he was a player, right after, had this discussion with Red Auerbach. You should have traded Bird and McHale at the end of their career instead of letting them go out as Celtics,
Hmm.
because then you're getting something back. A system that is like that is not fan friendly. So I think what the NBA has to do is sit down and look at these guys who've been 10 years with the team, and even if they're making, count it maybe half in the salary cap, so that they're not locked in. Think about Joel Embiid making 70 million. He's only going to
Right.
get hurt more, and but he's staying with Philly, and he'll retire probably a Sixer. So that the point being, that's good that he's staying with them, because there's a lot of kids with Embiid jerseys walking around, and a lot of kids in Philly that love Joel Embiid. So what I'm saying to you is, there's got to be a way where you can keep these guys. Think about what Danny Ainge is saying. Danny Ainge was looking at it from a business point when he spoke to Red Auerbach about that, but he was right. And there's something wrong if Boston were to trade Larry Bird. Does that mean the Bulls would trade Michael Jordan? Come on.
Yeah.
There's something, it's not right for these guys. Jaylen Brown, 10 years a Celtic, and now he's going to go probably. And it's the right thing to do because of the financial thing. And as I pointed out, and I said before, from 24 to 26 years old, that's the best production you're going to get out of a player. Now, think about that for a while. What does that mean? You want to get young players, good legs, play every night, don't miss games, and can keep you going. Look at Oklahoma, how young they were. Look at
Yeah.
San Antonio, how young they were. That's where the game is going, to the young people.
So I'm trying to put this into practice. So kind of what you're suggesting is to flip things. In other words, the money goes to the
No,
folks
good.
in that go. And yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but you're going to take the rookie contracts and you're going to increase that salary level,
No, I'm not.
and you're
I'm
going to
not.
decrease. You're
What
not.
I'm
Go ahead.
telling you, what I'm saying to you is this: if you're going to, let's use Jaylen Brown. If you're going to trade Jaylen Brown because of the CBA, if you're going to trade him, go out and get 23, 24-year olds. Now, they're not going to make a lot of money, but if you pick the right, let me hear, hypothetically, let's say Boston and Detroit, because Jalen Duran he's saying sign and trade me. Let's use
Yeah.
that. Let's say Boston signs Jalen Duran, trades Jaylen Brown. Now, what do you want with him? He's young. What do you want with him? Here, I'm going to give you a couple things. How about Sar Thompson and Dennis? What's his name? They're young. They have potential to be great. Thompson's a great defender. Can't shoot real well, but can defend. Was it Dennis Jenkins or whatever his
Dennis.
name is?
Yeah. Mhm.
He's young. He's got great potential. Take those guys and use them, and naturally, Thompson will be coming up with a bigger contract soon. But you get there 3, 4 years out of them. By the time they're 27 or 28, move on. Trade them, move on. And just keep regenerating through young players, as opposed to what's going on now, where you're signing Giannis, and it's a great gamble. And I can't sit and tell you he's not going to be healthy, but all the odds say there's going to be an injury or two next year. And you
Yeah.
want that? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We're stuck with it. The CBA, like you said, and you called out in your article, right? Can't be renegotiated until 28, 29. So we got a couple more years of this, but we'll see what direction the game takes. I want to talk about the other trade that went down, And this one kind of was a bit surprising because, of course, there was a lot of talk about Giannis, and then finally that shoe dropped, and there's talk about Jaylen Brown. There wasn't a whole lot of talk about LaMelo Ball. You heard some rumors. I know the Clippers had some interest, but it wasn't. I was a bit shocked, and I was certainly shocked by who he went to. Now I got to ask you this: the Hornets, since January of this year, they were the best team in the league, offensive rating. They led everybody. They had a record 9 game winning streak. They went from just no chance to a play in and actually won a game in the play in. They were pretty good and they were building something. Why trade LaMelo Ball now? Seems so odd to me. And what's the fit like in Minnesota?
Let's start with Charlotte. The first thing I'll ask you is LaMelo Ball a serious basketball player?
That's so
That's
subjective.
what I
What does that
does
even
he
mean?
want? Does he by saying that I mean does he want to win or does he want to entertain? So let's put that aside and think about that.
Yeah.
But now let's
All
take
right.
another thing. If you watch Charlotte during the year, I saw it a couple times where down the stretch, LaMelo made some stupid mistakes or threw up something from 30 feet, which he's prone to do. Charles
Yeah.
Lee, new coach, pulls him, and they go
Yeah.
without him down the stretch. That tells you something right away.
Yeah.
Because you don't do that to your star. A couple things. Management's on your team. They've had enough of LaMelo. And LaMelo did try harder last year than before because his habit used to be defensively, any screen or any action, he never dropped the ball on the foul line and fouled anybody. He really didn't defend real well. He defended a lot harder. He's not a great defensive player. And he's talented, believe me. But the point being, they had seen that and said, maybe we should move on and get what we can. He's making $45 million. So they trade him for Naz Reid and some draft picks. Naz Reid is only about $25 million. So they may, they're saving money on that. The team is really Millers and Kneppel. It's their team.
Mhm.
And Kneppel's the guy that changed the attitude of the team and really got them thinking winning as opposed to anything else. So it makes sense when you see that, and they made a great trade. They needed size. Naz Reid gives them some. They still need another big. He gives them some size. So for them, it's good. Now, when you look at Minnesota, it's really interesting. Minnesota was always, I guess, since Finch has been the coach, gritty team. The one thing I would say, LaMelo Ball is not gritty. So they took a shot here, and they're gambling. They felt this team they have last year that they finished with wasn't good enough to compete with the big two, Oklahoma and San Antonio. We've got to make
Yeah.
change. They got rid of Randall for nothing. They re-signed DeSumo, and he's a good player. I don't know if he's as good as Randall right now, but he's a good player. They believe what's his name? They have a guy on the bench, a big man, Bergeron, who's not bad, and they think he's got a future. And probably, if he can play, and they're right, you'll see Gobert go in a year or two. But they
Hmm.
have they have Ball. They went small. They're going to make Jaden McDaniels their four. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. San Antonio and is a problem because of their size with the big guy. How do you play? How do you attack that? And what they're doing is looking for offense, scoring, and shooting. Edwards can shoot. Ball can shoot a three. Yasuma's more of a slasher, but look at how they changed the game. And they're banking on a couple things. A, the shooting will be able to counteract the size. It's a risk. Also, Finch has got the most to lose because if it doesn't work and LaMelo's not sold on this, Anthony Edwards might want out. Finch will be on
Yeah.
the unemployment line, and you're starting over. But I understand it because they weren't good enough to beat those two teams, and they had to do something. I believe that the team Minnesota has now is not as good as last year's team, but I could be wrong.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's the risk they took in doing this. And I understand it. And teams in the West now have to think about a couple things if they're going to contend. How do we attack this 7'4" guy?
Yeah.
How do we? So there's a lot to it now. Oklahoma City, look what they did. They just got two guys that are 7 footers, and they re-signed Hartenstein. So what do you think they're trying to do? They're trying to counteract the big guy. And all
Sure.
the other teams have to take note and say, okay, what kind of basketball will work? Minnesota's taking a risk with shooters, but what kind of basketball could possibly beat the big guy, Wemby, or Oklahoma City, who has they now have what 4 7-footers, counting the guy who had the bad playoffs. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. The other Chet Holmgren.
Oh,
So
Chet
they have
Holmgren. Horrible
four.
playoffs.
Yeah, they have four big people. Is that a counter, or are they going to trade Chad? Who knows? But the point being, look at what's going on. And
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it, in the last 10 years, we haven't had a situation where teams were trying to figure out how to compete with a good team. They were just trying to amass talent and play. Now it's a little different, and
Yeah.
that's what I see.
Yeah. It is odd, right? That the team, the best player, arguably in the league right now, is 7'4". That's the way the league is young. The league is tall now. Things change. And the Timberwolves are going in the opposite direction. Not that they're getting older, but they're looking at shooters. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do with Wemby, so I think they're just thinking let's score three to every one of their two. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. This is the most exciting time of the year if you're a
It is.
basketball fan, especially if you're the fan of the general manager, because this is when they make their money
Yeah.
undeniably. You heard the buzzer go off. We're in the midst of World Cup, so we took a little extra time. If you're watching the games, you know that the clock means nothing in World Cup soccer, or really soccer in general, because they always add extra time. We had a couple of technical glitches, and we had more to talk about, so we added some extra time. How's that? That worked out really well.
Great.
Um, but our time is up. That is where we've got to end this. Please make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules article. We will link it wherever you're watching or listening to this today to hear more or to read more about Steve's thoughts on the Mavs' new coach and an interesting situation in Portland, which I think says a lot about the coach and says a lot about the ownership in Portland. Good reading. Make sure you follow that. But that's it. Our time is up. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire article. We just said that. And join us next week for more NBA random thoughts. Steve, we'll talk then. Thank you.
Take care.